What if I told you that your body already has the built-in ability to burn through stubborn belly fat, and the key to unlocking it isn't starving yourself or cutting out every carb, but understanding how insulin actually works? Most people think fat loss is about eating less or exercising more, but the real secret lies in how your body responds to insulin, the hormone that decides whether you store fat or burn it. When insulin levels stay high, your body is stuck in storage mode. But when you learn how to lower and balance that response, your metabolism can flip into fat burning mode almost automatically. This isn't about another restrictive diet or long hours of fasting. It's about a small, strategic change, something as simple as adjusting when you eat or the order in which you eat your food. For example, eating protein and vegetables before carbs can reduce the insulin spike that comes after a meal. That one shift can make a surprising difference in how much fat your body burns throughout the day, and the best part, you don't have to wait months to see results. When you reprogram your insulin sensitivity, your body starts to respond quickly, sometimes in just a few days. You may notice more steady energy, fewer cravings, and even that your clothes start to fit differently without feeling like you're suffering through a diet. It's incredible how the smallest tweak in how we eat can change everything about how our body functions. So as we dive into this, I want you to reflect on your own experience. Have you ever tried keto or fasting before? Did it actually work for you, or did it leave you feeling stuck again? Let's break down why that happens and how this one simple insulin hack could finally make the difference. Insulin is one of the most misunderstood hormones in the body. We often hear about it in relation to diabetes or blood sugar, but it's so much more than that. Insulin is essentially the traffic controller for energy. It decides whether the calories you eat are used for energy right now or stored away for later. Every time you eat, your blood sugar rises, and insulin comes in to move that sugar into your cells. When this process works well, your body keeps energy flowing smoothly. But when it doesn't, everything about your metabolism starts to shift, often in ways we can't see right away. Over time, when we eat frequently or consume foods that spike blood sugar like refined carbs, sugary drinks, or constant snacking, insulin levels stay elevated most of the day. The body begins to lose sensitivity to insulin's signal, almost like someone tuning out a sound they hear too often. This is what we call insulin resistance. The cells stop responding efficiently, so the body produces even more insulin to compensate. It becomes a vicious cycle. High blood sugar leads to high insulin, and high insulin makes the cells even more resistant. Here's where stubborn belly fat comes in. Insulin's job isn't just to manage blood sugar, it's also a powerful fat storage hormone. When insulin levels are high, the body receives a message to hold onto fat and not burn it for energy. It tells fat cells store more, and tells muscle cells don't release any. So even if you're eating fewer calories or working out regularly, your body won't tap into its fat reserves efficiently because insulin is literally locking that fat in place. This is especially noticeable around the belly because visceral fat, the deep fat surrounding internal organs, is highly sensitive to insulin signals. When insulin resistance develops, the body also struggles to regulate hunger and energy. You might notice feeling tired after meals or craving sugar soon after eating. That's not a lack of willpower, it's your body stuck in a hormonal loop. High insulin pushes glucose into cells quickly, leading to a sudden drop in blood sugar, which then triggers the brain to crave more food for a quick fix. This pattern can repeat several times a day, keeping insulin elevated and fat storage constant. The frustrating part is that many people try to fix this by eating less or exercising more, but that often misses the root cause. If insulin remains high, cutting calories can backfire. The body senses stress and slows metabolism further to conserve energy. It's like trying to drive a car with the brakes on. You're pushing harder, but going nowhere. Until insulin levels come down, fat loss remains incredibly difficult. There's also a deeper link between stress, sleep, and insulin. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, another hormone that raises blood sugar. That extra glucose prompts even more insulin release. Poor sleep does the same thing, it disrupts hormonal balance, making insulin less effective. So even if you're eating healthy, chronic stress and poor rest can still trigger insulin resistance and belly fat accumulation. The encouraging news is that insulin resistance isn't permanent. The body is remarkably adaptable. When insulin levels start to normalize through balanced eating patterns, movement, and proper rest, cells begin listening again. Your metabolism can literally reset. The switch flips from store to burn. Energy becomes steadier, cravings fade, and the body naturally starts drawing on stored fat for fuel. It's empowering to realize that fixing insulin isn't about deprivation. It's about working with your body's natural rhythms instead of against them. Once insulin is under control, all those other strategies, calorie counting, exercise, even intermittent fasting, become much more effective. But without addressing insulin first, they often feel like a battle you can't win. So, when you think about stubborn fat, especially around the belly, it's not just a cosmetic issue. It's a signal from your body that something deeper is off, that your cells aren't hearing insulin's message clearly anymore. The solution isn't to punish yourself with another diet. It's to restore that communication channel. When you do, fat loss stops being a constant struggle and starts becoming your body's natural state again. Most of us have been taught that weight loss is simple: eat less, move more. On the surface, that sounds logical. If you burn more calories than you consume, you should lose weight. But if you've ever tried that approach and ended up right back where you started, it's not because you failed, it's because that strategy completely ignores how hormones, especially insulin, control fat storage and release. When you restrict calories or skip meals, your body initially responds by burning stored energy. You might lose a few pounds quickly, mostly from glycogen and water. But behind the scenes, insulin and other hormones start reacting to what your body perceives as a threat, a shortage of fuel. If insulin levels are still high due to resistance, fat cells stay locked, and your body starts breaking down muscle instead. That's why so many people on low-calorie diets feel weak, tired, and hungry even though they're eating less. The metabolism slows down, and as soon as normal eating resumes, the weight, often in the form of fat, comes right back. Long fasts can create a similar problem. At first, fasting does lower insulin levels, which can help release stored fat. But when fasting is too extreme or too frequent, the body increases cortisol to stabilize blood sugar, which then triggers insulin again. You end up stuck in a hormonal tug-of-war, burning fat for a short time, then quickly switching back to storage mode. The result is a cycle of temporary success followed by rebound weight gain, cravings, and fatigue. Low-carb diets like keto also show great initial results for many people. They reduce glucose spikes, which naturally lowers insulin. But if someone's insulin resistance is deeply rooted, often from years of high-carb eating, stress, or poor sleep, simply cutting carbs doesn't fix the sensitivity problem. The pancreas can still overproduce insulin even with fewer carbs. Over time, this can lead to the same plateau people experience with other diets. That's why some individuals lose weight on keto at first, then suddenly stop seeing progress even though they haven't changed a thing. Another overlooked factor is how these restrictive approaches affect appetite hormones. When insulin is unstable, it disrupts leptin and G-rel in the hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. Calorie restriction or fasting can magnify that disruption. You feel hungrier, crave high-energy foods, and find it harder to stop eating when you finally break your fast. The body isn't trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you from starvation. Unfortunately, those protective signals can undo weeks or months of progress in just a few binge-style meals. It's also important to recognize that the body doesn't just adapt physically, it adapts hormonally. When insulin resistance is left unaddressed, the body gets better at storing fat over time. That's why each new diet feels harder and produces smaller results. The metabolism becomes more conservative, meaning it burns fewer calories even at rest. This metabolic slowdown is the reason why so many people say, "I used to lose weight easily when I dieted, but now nothing works." The problem isn't aging, it's the deeper insulin imbalance that never got fixed. Real, sustainable fat loss isn't about forcing the body to burn calories through willpower. It's about creating an environment where hormones, especially insulin, are stable enough that fat burning becomes natural again. When insulin sensitivity improves, the body starts releasing stored energy more freely. You can eat a moderate amount of food, feel satisfied, and still lose fat because your metabolism is no longer being held hostage by high insulin. That's also why people who focus on insulin balance often describe a completely different experience. Instead of battling hunger or mood swings, they feel steady energy throughout the day. Cravings fade because blood sugar stays stable. They can go longer between meals without effort, not because they are forcing a fast, but because their body is finally accessing its fat stores efficiently. So while diets and fasting might offer short-term results, they often fail in the long run because they don't address the root cause: unstable insulin signaling. Until that's corrected, your body is programmed to defend its fat stores. The real solution isn't about eating less. It's about eating smarter and teaching your metabolism to trust that it's safe to burn fat again. When insulin is balanced, the results that once felt impossible suddenly become effortless, not because you're working harder, but because your body is finally working with you. At its core, the #1 insulin hack works because it speaks directly to how your body manages energy, not through willpower or restriction, but through biology. The key idea is simple. When you lower the frequency and intensity of insulin spikes, your body naturally begins to restore sensitivity at the cellular level. That means the same amount of insulin starts doing its job more efficiently, allowing your body to regulate blood sugar with less effort. Once that happens, energy stops being stored as fat and starts being used as fuel again. Here's what's happening inside the body. Every time you eat, especially carbohydrates or processed foods, glucose levels rise in your bloodstream. Insulin is released to escort that glucose into your cells for energy. When your diet or eating pattern causes repeated, large spikes, your cells become overwhelmed. They start to ignore insulin's signal, that's insulin resistance. The pancreas tries to compensate by releasing even more insulin, keeping your body locked in fat storage mode. The hack works by breaking this loop, reducing the number of times insulin needs to rise and softening how high it goes when it does. One of the most effective ways to do this is through food sequencing, eating in a specific order: fiber and protein first, then carbohydrates last. When you start a meal with vegetables or protein, you slow down the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. This prevents the sharp surge that would otherwise call for a big insulin response. Instead, insulin rises gently, stays stable, and returns to baseline quickly. That stability signals to your body that energy is available, but not in excess, so there's no need to store fat. Over time, your cells begin to regain their sensitivity because they're no longer bombarded by constant insulin stimulation. Another element of this hack involves timing. When you align your meals with your body's natural circadian rhythm, eating most of your calories earlier in the day, and finishing dinner a few hours before bed, you give insulin levels time to drop during the night. During sleep, your body relies more on stored energy, which encourages fat burning. This overnight recovery window helps improve insulin sensitivity even more. It's not about skipping meals entirely, but giving your body predictable periods of low insulin so it can reset. At a cellular level, something remarkable starts happening. When insulin drops, the enzyme hormone-sensitive lipase becomes active. This enzyme's job is to break down stored fat into fatty acids, which are then converted into energy. But when insulin is high, that enzyme is switched off. The hack essentially flips that switch back on. Your body begins using fat as its preferred fuel source rather than constantly relying on sugar. This shift from burning glucose to burning fat is called metabolic flexibility, and it's what allows people to experience fast results without feeling drained or deprived. When cells become more insulin sensitive, they can easily switch between energy sources depending on what's available. You might notice that you can go longer between meals without hunger, or that your energy feels steady instead of crashing mid-afternoon. That's your body efficiently managing its own fuel system. There's also a domino effect on other hormones. As insulin stabilizes, cortisol, the stress hormone, tends to balance out as well. Lower cortisol reduces the tendency to store visceral fat, especially around the midsection. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, starts working properly again, helping you stop eating naturally when you've had enough. Ghrelin, which triggers hunger, calms down. This combination makes it easier to eat intuitively rather than relying on strict rules or counting calories. Over time, this one simple change retrains your metabolism. The pancreas doesn't have to overwork itself, blood sugar remains stable, and inflammation in fat cells decreases. As those fat cells shrink, they release less inflammatory signaling, which further improves insulin sensitivity, creating a positive feedback loop. The more your body heals, the easier fat burning becomes. What makes this approach so powerful is that it works with your body's design. It doesn't rely on extremes or deprivation. It's about precision, giving your body the right cues at the right times. When you eat in a way that keeps insulin stable and responsive, your metabolism begins to self-correct. And once that balance is restored, your body's natural fat burning machinery doesn't just turn on, it stays on, effortlessly converting stored fat into steady energy day after day. Applying this insulin hack in daily life isn't about following a rigid plan or depriving yourself. It's about learning to work with your body's natural hormonal rhythm instead of against it. Once you understand when insulin naturally rises and falls, and how certain foods interact with those rhythms, you can design your meals and timing in a way that keeps your metabolism balanced and your fat burning switch turned on. The first step is to think about timing. Insulin sensitivity is highest in the morning and early afternoon, meaning your body is better at processing carbohydrates and turning them into energy instead of fat. As the day goes on, insulin sensitivity declines, which means that eating large or carb-heavy meals late at night is more likely to be stored as fat. That's why front-loading your calories, eating a balanced breakfast and lunch, and finishing dinner at least 3 hours before bedtime can dramatically improve results. You're not starving yourself, you're simply syncing eating with your body's biological clock. Within each meal, the order in which you eat your food plays a surprisingly big role. This method is called food sequencing, and it's one of the most effective ways to flatten insulin spikes. When you begin a meal with fibrous vegetables like leafy greens, broccoli, or cucumbers, the fiber forms a natural barrier in your digestive tract, slowing the absorption of sugar that comes later. Following that with a protein source such as eggs, fish, or chicken further stabilizes blood sugar by triggering the release of glucagon, a hormone that balances insulin. Only after those should you add carbohydrates, ideally from whole sources like quinoa, beans, or sweet potatoes. This simple sequence can cut the insulin surge from a meal by nearly half, even if the total calories remain the same. Another element of this hack involves strategic pairing. Pairing carbs with protein or healthy fat reduces the glycemic impact dramatically. For example, instead of eating fruit alone, pair it with Greek yogurt or a handful of nuts. The fat and protein slow digestion, keeping blood sugar steady. Likewise, if you're having rice or bread, add avocado or olive oil. Those healthy fats help moderate insulin release. The goal isn't to cut out carbs entirely, but to balance them so that your body can use them efficiently without triggering excessive insulin. Meal timing can also be fine-tuned to fit your hormonal cycles throughout the day. Cortisol, your natural get-up and go hormone, peaks in the morning. That's a great time for a meal rich in protein and healthy fats, which supports energy and keeps you satisfied. Midday is when your metabolism is most active, so that's when your body handles complex carbs best. By evening, melatonin levels begin to rise, preparing you for rest. Eating too close to bedtime interferes with this process, keeping insulin elevated and preventing overnight fat burning. Giving your body at least a 3-hour window between dinner and sleep allows insulin to fall, letting your body shift into repair and fat burning mode while you rest. Hydration and movement also play key supporting roles. Drinking water before meals helps regulate appetite and supports digestion. Light physical activity, such as a 10-minute walk after eating, improves glucose uptake by muscles, reducing how much insulin your body needs to manage that meal. These small actions create a big impact when practiced consistently. It's also important to approach this with flexibility. You don't need to follow the exact same schedule every day. The body thrives on rhythm, but also adapts to variety. Some days you might have a later breakfast or a lighter dinner, and that's okay. What matters is maintaining long-term consistency and keeping insulin stable, eating in predictable windows, choosing whole foods, and sequencing meals thoughtfully. As you start applying this hack, many people notice changes within days: steadier energy, fewer cravings, and a lighter feeling in their midsection. Those are signs that insulin is calming down and your body is moving out of constant storage mode. Over weeks, this pattern compounds. Insulin sensitivity strengthens, hormones like leptin and ghrelin rebalance, and your metabolism begins to run more efficiently on its own. This approach doesn't rely on perfection, it's about alignment. When you eat in tune with your natural hormonal rhythm and combine foods strategically, your body starts doing what it's meant to do: burn fat, sustain energy, and keep you balanced without the constant struggle. Over time, this becomes less of a hack and more of a lifestyle, a natural, effortless way to stay lean and energized by simply working with your biology instead of fighting it. When insulin finally begins to balance, the changes go far beyond what the scale shows. Yes, visceral fat, that deep, dangerous fat around your organs, starts to melt away, but something deeper happens inside your body. It's as if your entire system exhales after years of metabolic tension. Energy stabilizes, cravings fade, and mental clarity returns. The same hormone that once trapped you in a cycle of fatigue and hunger becomes your ally again. You start to feel like your body is working with you, not against you. One of the first shifts people notice is in their energy. When insulin is unstable, blood sugar behaves like a roller coaster. It spikes after meals and crashes a few hours later. That's why you might feel wired one minute and exhausted the next, constantly reaching for caffeine or snacks to keep going. As insulin stabilizes, those wild swings flatten out. Glucose is delivered steadily to your cells, giving you consistent energy throughout the day. Instead of running on quick bursts, your body begins to tap into stored fat for long, sustained fuel. This fat burning efficiency is what allows you to feel alert, light, and focused without relying on stimulants. That same stability extends to your brain. Insulin and glucose don't just affect your body, they directly impact your mood and cognitive function. When blood sugar fluctuates, your brain feels it immediately. You might experience brain fog, irritability, or anxiety for no obvious reason. By balancing insulin, your brain finally gets a consistent supply of energy. Neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine start functioning normally again, improving focus and emotional regulation. You feel calmer, more present, and able to think clearly, not in survival mode, but in control. Cravings are another major change point. When insulin levels are high, your body keeps glucose locked inside cells, leaving the bloodstream short on available energy. The brain interprets this as hunger, even if you've eaten enough. That's why you might crave sweets or carbs even after a full meal. Once insulin is under control, the body learns to access stored fat efficiently, and those false hunger signals fade away. Instead of fighting cravings all day, you simply stop having them. Eating becomes intuitive again. You eat when you're truly hungry and stop when you're satisfied. Balancing insulin also has a profound impact on how your body stores and releases fat. As sensitivity improves, your fat cells begin to respond properly to hormonal cues. They release stored triglycerides, shrink in size, and reduce inflammatory signaling. This not only improves appearance, flatter stomach, slimmer waist, but also boosts internal health. Less inflammation means better organ function, improved digestion, and stronger immunity. Visceral fat, in particular, is metabolically active and produces inflammatory chemicals that disrupt hormones further. When it begins to shrink, your entire body enters a state of repair and balance. Another overlooked benefit of insulin reset is hormonal harmony. When insulin stabilizes, other hormones naturally follow suit. Cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to normalize. Leptin, which signals fullness, becomes more accurate, while ghrelin, the hunger hormone, quiets down. Thyroid hormones, which drive metabolism, become more efficient as inflammation decreases. This interconnected balance explains why so many people report feeling emotionally lighter and physically stronger when insulin is finally regulated. It's not just about fat loss, it's about total body synchronization. Sleep also improves dramatically. High insulin levels interfere with melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep cycles. When insulin is stable, you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. That deeper rest enhances recovery, further improving insulin sensitivity, creating a positive cycle where rest and metabolism reinforce each other. Even mood stability and emotional resilience start to rise. When your body is no longer trapped in blood sugar swings, your nervous system calms. You react to stress differently, less reactive, more grounded. Many people describe feeling a sense of inner steadiness they haven't felt in years. That's because insulin balance reduces inflammation in the brain and improves serotonin in function, both of which are directly tied to emotional well-being. All of these visible and invisible changes stem from one core principle: your body thrives when energy flow is balanced. When insulin is erratic, every system compensates in stress mode. When insulin is stable, every system operates in harmony. Fat loss stops being a struggle, energy becomes steady, and your mind feels clear. The external transformation, a leaner, stronger body, is just a reflection of the internal one. A metabolism that's finally in sync, hormones that communicate clearly, and a body that trusts itself again. Long-term success with this insulin hack isn't about mastering a temporary trick. It's about creating a rhythm your body can live in permanently. Once insulin sensitivity is restored, your metabolism becomes more adaptable, your hunger cues realign, and your energy stays steady throughout the day. What once felt like a constant fight resisting cravings, counting calories, or jumping between diet starts to feel effortless because your body no longer depends on external control to function well. The goal isn't just to lose fat. It's to achieve metabolic freedom, the ability to eat, move, and live without fear of weight regain or burnout. When your cells respond well to insulin, your body naturally maintains a balanced weight. You don't have to micromanage every bite because the hormones that regulate appetite, energy, and storage are in sync. Fat burning and fat storing become part of a balanced cycle, not an all or nothing state. This is why people who repair their insulin sensitivity can eat a wider variety of foods without gaining weight. Their metabolism knows what to do with energy again. It can store when necessary and release when needed. That flexibility is what keeps results sustainable for years, not weeks. The beauty of maintaining insulin balance is that it doesn't demand perfection. You can enjoy social meals, travel, or occasional indulgences without undoing progress. The key is consistency, not rigidity. As long as you maintain general habits that support low, stable insulin, eating mostly whole foods, keeping meal timing predictable, and prioritizing sleep and movement, your metabolism remains resilient. It's like building a strong foundation. A single off day doesn't shake it. In fact, your body becomes more forgiving the longer it stays insulin sensitive because it's no longer stuck in a reactive, inflamed state. Over time, many people find that their relationship with food completely transforms. They stop obsessing over when or what to eat because hunger becomes predictable and gentle instead of urgent. You start to trust your body again. When you're hungry, it's real hunger, not a blood sugar crash or an emotional craving. When you're full, you can stop eating naturally because your brain receives the signal clearly. This freedom from food anxiety is one of the most underrated benefits of insulin balance. It's not about willpower, it's about restoring the biological cues that dieting often destroys. Sustaining insulin sensitivity also supports deeper health beyond weight. Stable insulin levels reduce systemic inflammation, lower the risk of metabolic diseases, and protect the cardiovascular system. The brain benefits too: cognitive function, memory, and mood all stay sharper because neurons rely on consistent energy flow. Even skin health, hormone balance, and immune strength improve when insulin is under control. What you start as a fat loss tool quietly becomes a full body healing mechanism that enhances every aspect of well-being. One of the most effective long-term strategies is maintaining rhythm in your lifestyle. That means eating in regular windows, prioritizing quality sleep, managing stress, and moving daily. It doesn't require intense workouts. Even light, consistent movement like walking after meals or stretching in the morning helps your muscles use glucose efficiently, keeping insulin low. Managing stress through practices like mindfulness or deep breathing also plays a crucial role. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which drives up blood sugar and insulin, undoing the benefits of healthy eating. Balancing your emotional and physical state keeps your hormones aligned and your metabolism flexible. Another powerful mindset shift is focusing on nourishment instead of restriction. When you see food as fuel and information for your body, not a threat, you make choices that serve your energy and longevity. You naturally gravitate toward meals that keep you feeling vibrant rather than sluggish. That's the essence of metabolic freedom. Your decisions aren't ruled by fear of weight gain or guilt over eating something off plan. You're tuned into what your body needs because the signals are clear again. This is the point where health stops being about control and becomes about harmony. You no longer need extreme fasting, punishing diets, or constant tracking because your metabolism is self-regulating. Insulin balance makes the process sustainable by removing the internal chaos that caused imbalance in the first place. The same small habits that restored your metabolism now sustain it balanced meals, mindful eating, rest, and movement. The longer you maintain insulin sensitivity, the easier everything becomes. Your metabolism stays efficient, your energy feels consistent, and weight management becomes a background process rather than your daily focus. That's true freedom, not relying on rules, but on rhythm. When your hormones are balanced, your body takes care of the rest. The fat loss stays, the energy lasts, and the peace you feel around food becomes your new normal.